Anderson, Texas is the epitome of small-town USA. Nestled between gently rolling hills and cattle ranches, Anderson Center is the tallest building for miles, the Grimes County Courthouse. The 1894 Italianate courthouse has been refurbished and is the focal point for most activities on Main Street. An historic park nearby consists of numerous old homes and buildings, such as the Steinhagen Log Cabin and Museum. If you drive down Main Street away from the courthouse, you will end up at the Fanthorpe Inn State Historic Site. English immigrant Henry Fanthorpe built this inn in 1834. Henry also bought land near his inn, sold town lots, and called the town Altamira, which means high view. The Fanthorpe Inn was a stagecoach stop, hotel, and the first post office in Grimes County. Many Texas historic figures, such as Sam Houston, stayed in the Fanthorpe Inn during their travels across the state. In 1845, Kenneth Anderson, the last Vice President of the Republic of Texas, died at the Fanthorpe Inn. The town's name was changed from Altamira to Anderson. Many community activities focus around the hometown school. Anderson is in the Anderson-Shiro Consolidated School District. This school district consists of an elementary campus and a secondary campus with a total number of 554 students. Major changes are occurring in Anderson-Shiro Consolidated School District. In this film, we're going to take you through the district's progression. We will begin in the early 1890s. Prior to that time, schools available to the general public were private. Anderson had 5 different private schools through the years. St. Patrick's Academy was one such school. In 1893, Grimes County was divided into school districts. Anderson School District No. 1 consisted of 34 square miles. The district bought land and buildings from the Orphans' Friend Lodge and used the old St. Patrick's Academy buildings. One of the most beloved teachers from this time period was primary school teacher Hattie Taylor. Hattie's teaching career spanned 54 years. In 1935, a bond was issued and a new native rock school building was constructed. The school took 10 months, 30 men, and $10,000 to build. Behind the rock building you can see the 1915 3-story frame building that was used for many years. Anderson received affiliation or accreditation after the completion of the rock building. In the 40s and 50s, many small school districts were annexed or consolidated. Anderson Independent School District acquired the school districts of Independent, Pine Grove, Spring Grove, Carlos, and Eureka, which increased the district to 95 square miles. In 1953, bonds were issued and a framed gymnasium auditorium was constructed near the Rock School building. The gymnasium allowed Anderson to begin competing in UIL basketball. It was around this time that the district made a priceless acquisition in the form of a young educator named John Freeman.
My first connection with it started in 1955 after I returned from service, where I'd been since 1953, and I was discharged in 1955. So I came here about 3 months after that, and I was employed by W.T. Wilcox, who is, at that time or slightly after, before, was county superintendent here for years. And he'd come to this job, and his wife had agreed to take the job that he was vacating as county superintendent, the office of which was later abolished. Then the first thing that we had to tackle was the rock building built in WPA days and finished in 1935. It was, in the opinion of many people, about to collapse. So the first thing we did was run rods through the building from end to end, side to side, in an attempt to eliminate any risk from the possibility of that. However, later when we tore the building down, it took a D8 dozer to push it down, so it wasn't as fragile as we thought. But it was, however, leaking badly, as well as having loose windows and so forth. And we were able to do that because a few years ago, about the very early 70s, Shiro Independent School District consolidated with ours and became known as Anderson-Shiro, with representation from each of the former districts. And that's much the way it still is today. So as soon as that was done, we began the process of trying to build a new school. And our intention was to put it there because we couldn't go to another site because the gymnasium would not have been available. And we were indebting ourselves to the limit just to build a building. And we wanted air-conditioned cafeteria and library and science facilities, none of which we had before. So it was a big concern. And looking back, it was a very cheap building because it cost only about $400,000. And we were able to do that and upgrade the libraries, which had been a subject of concern with the accrediting agency, and the science particularly so too, because there weren't any laboratories as such, and our microscopes and things were non-existent. So we started out to solve those problems, and after the building was completed, we got another visit, and they gave us a clean bill of health on all of those things. However, we would not be precluded from having to make changes later, or were done later. The next thing that happened was sort of catastrophic, was when the school burned. And it happened in February, and we had to contend with the problem of how we finished school with that building being not fit for occupancy.
The extensive damage to the school was ruled arson by investigators, and even though the district offered a reward, no one was ever charged in the incident. Not only was John Freeman instrumental in the evolution of the physical and curricular aspects of the district, he was also a key player in the historical transition of desegregation. The old Terrell School building, which served as the Negro school in the district, still stands in disrepair.
At first, all schools that had separate facilities were required by the federal government to be sure that these facilities were equal, which the contention in the lawsuit was they inherited unequal. So what we had to do was to upgrade those existing things for a year or two, but also if the people voted to keep them separate, those who had children that were not in the white school could still have the option to come if they wanted to here, and in most other cases they opted not to. So, but the federal government says if after 1 year or two, if schools haven't then been integrated, then you'll have to have some more evaluations done. So at the end of next year, almost all the schools in the state were required to go ahead and integrate fully. And that's what happened here. So it worked without any problems whatsoever. So far as any kind of violence, there wasn't any. And it's still is, but the percentage of black students in the school was much higher than it is today. I don't know what the percentage is now, but I expect it's probably around 15%, maybe less. But that's something I'm not sure of. So it worked out pretty well because it made things cheaper. You didn't have to have two separate facilities, where one teacher could teach both races as well or better, and with less expense, and achieve some of the better goals of what it's set up to do. So that's at least my opinion of how it went.
In 1988, after the construction of a 7th through 12th grade campus, John Freeman retired from his role as superintendent of the district. He had served the district for 33 years. The new junior-senior high school building was dedicated to John Freeman. Students moved to the new building after the Christmas break. During the next decade, the school continued to grow. The campuses became crowded and buildings began to deteriorate due to age. Several bond elections failed. Portable buildings were added to the junior-senior high campus to alleviate the growing pains. At one point, the junior high campus was housed strictly in the portable buildings. In 2003, a school bond election was held, and the community living in Anderson Shiro CISD came through for the district. In 2004, the construction began. A new PE gymnasium and tennis courts were finished, as well as the cafeteria enlargement. In 2005, the classroom addition was opened for students and teachers. Most of the portable buildings were converted to offices instead of classrooms. At the time of filming, the track, library addition, and band hall were all under construction. As time marches on, new generations of Anderson Shiro students will continue to benefit from the invaluable contributions of people like Hattie Taylor and John Freeman. As new voices continue to lead the district in this new century, the students can be assured that many dedicated people are constantly working to ensure they receive the best possible education.